You're listening to Swingology, a lifestyle podcast. Swingology is for adult entertainment only, and we're not licensed professionals. Our show features adult themes, language, and descriptions of sexual acts and desires. If you're under 18, this is not the show for you. The ideas and opinions expressed are those of the speaker only and not of any company or entity, and should not be considered professional advice. Now, let's stimulate your mind. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Swingology, a lifestyle podcast. We are your hosts, Tori Kist.
And Steve Kist.
And today we're going to be talking about types of open relationships, because there's more than one type of open relationship. There's polyamory, and there's different types of polyamory. There's swinger, and there's different types of swinger. So to begin with, let's lay our foundation. What is polyamory, and what is being a swinger? Steve?
Well, polyamory is a form of non-monogamy where individuals or people have multiple consensual, loving relationships simultaneously or all together, or even in little chains. Swinging is also a form of non-monogamy, which involves couples or people consensually engaging in sexual activities with others without the romantic relational component.
To begin with, let's talk about the types of open relationships involved around swinging. The young people in the lifestyle call it the lifestyle. And basically, these are people who have recreational sex with other people. They don't necessarily pursue romantic relationships with them. And then there's monogamish, which is like monogamy, only it ends with ISH. Monogamish. A monogamish couple is usually monogamous as far as anyone else knows, but they make allowances for the occasional extracurricular rendezvous. A partner might see a dominatrix occasionally, or they might have a romping night at a gay bar on a business trip, but these affairs are generally short-lived, have minimal impact on the couple, and both sides know about what's going on. They also might engage together at like Christmas time or their anniversary, just to keep things spicy around those times.
For whatever reason, there seems to have been a shift where people used to identify as swingers, and they still do, but the term lifestyle seems to have engrossed or encompassed swinging and all other forms of ethical non-monogamy. So if you practice ethical non-monogamy in any way, shape, or form, you are now accepted and part of what's called the lifestyle.
And Steve, actually, let me stop for a moment there. The term ethical non-monogamy is actually controversial for some people. They don't like the term ethical being involved. They just want it to be called non-monogamy. So what do you guys think?
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they...
I literally follow someone on Instagram, and she is polyamorous, and she's a swinger polyamorous, and she has a large following, and she recently had a video released about removing ethical from the ethical non-monogamy, and she had thousands of supporters in that.
Interesting.
Because
I wonder
non-monogamy should not be ethical or unethical. It should just be non-monogamy. And if you're cheating, that's the unethical. And so I totally get that. And I actually agree with that. So if I'm talking to a newbie couple that's not aware, I'll use the terms ethical non-monogamy. But if I'm talking to someone who's been in the lifestyle for a while, non-monogamy, because they understand we're doing it the right way. We're not going behind back and lying and cheating and being sneaky.
I think if you're part of the lifestyle, you would look at non-monogamy as always ethical because you have accepted the boundaries and respect, and you understand that there is a certain etiquette that you have to follow and observe. Whereas people who are not a part of the lifestyle think that if you're practicing in non-monogamy, it's a form of cheating. So I think what we have done, those in the lifestyle, is we've added the term ethical in front of it to avoid stigma from those not in the lifestyle.
Exactly. Yep.
I think that's exactly what happened.
And so let's not acknowledge that. There is no stigma. We are proud of who we are. It is non-monogamy.
Well, there's a stigma.
I can be passionate sometimes.
I think there's a stigma, for sure. Like if I were to come out at work and say that I practice ethical non-monogamy as opposed to non-monogamy, the term to a non-lifestyle person conjures up different images in their mind. And I don't always have the time to explain to a group of people what it is that I'm involved in. But if I can at least plant a seed with these other people that what I'm doing is ethical in my mind, that's almost enough for me.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
So there is a stigma out there a little bit.
There is. I just don't want to acknowledge it because I'm proud of who I am.
Okay.
Let's hear what the listeners think. If you're in an open relationship or open to open relationships, do you think that we should be calling it ethical non-monogamy, or do you think it should be called non-monogamy? Let us know. I will put another poll up on Instagram. Go look for that under Swingology Podcast. Okay. Steve, what's another way that being a swinger...
So there is one called Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And this is an agreement between two partners where one is aware that their partner will be seeking out occasional relationships and that kind of thing, but they don't want to know about it. They don't want the details. They want to be completely left out. Basically, it's permission to go out and play with other people sexually, but they don't want to know anything about it.
Yeah, and so there's two reasons or two examples of how you would have this agreement. Maybe one person is far more interested in opening up the relationship and the other partner isn't, but the partner is wanting to make the other partner satisfied. So just keep me away from it. You go do what you need to do, and I don't want to know. That's one example. The other example is maybe their partner has become less interested in sex overall and doesn't want to hear about the details. So very similar to the previous example, they don't want to hear about it.
I haven't run across too many people in the lifestyle that fall under that category. In fact, even now, I can't really think of any people that we actively know right now that fall in that category. Do you? Can you think of anyone that we know that is in that boat?
No, however, we are not on the lookout for it, so we're not going to probably even recognize it if we saw it.
No, that's true. And you know what? Let's say you're that person that's got that relationship, the don't ask, don't tell relationship, and you're out at the country club. Are you going to tell people that I am with someone, but they don't want to know about it? Because that's just going to throw up red flags. You're just going to go around and tell people that you're single, right? Or is that the wrong thing to do? I don't know. For me, I would, even though it would throw up red flags, I think I still would tell people that I'm in a relationship. Unless you told me that since it hurt my chances, I should just go around and tell people that I'm single. But then the people that know me, that are there, they would know that I'm not single. So yeah, I don't know. As
long as both people in that relationship are being respected, I think it's a legitimate way to do it. Okay, so here we come to a term, guys. Just about everybody has a different definition to this particular term.
I do not like this term, and the term is called soft swap. And the reason for that is soft swap has so many different definitions to different people. And it's gotten to the point now where if anyone says, oh, we're a soft swap couple, we say, okay, what does soft swap mean to you? That is the very next question. Because for some people, it means...
Here is the most foundational definition I could find of soft swap. It generally refers to sex with some kind of predetermined boundary. The most common agreement is something like handjobs are okay or oral is okay, but penetrative sex isn't. However, rules are unique to everybody. So on the other hand of the spectrum, the other end is full swap, which generally means that a couple is into experiencing the full array of sexual experiences with whomever. But when I was introduced to the term soft swap, I was told that it's just the females playing and the guys are watching. But then as I entered the lifestyle, got my experiences and started meeting people and they mentioned soft swap, to them, that meant the guy can play with the girl as long as there's no sex involved. So it's different. I guess it also depends on your region and where you live.
Yeah, that's true too, because there is a difference between bull and dragon. But if you're up north, dragon has the definition of bull. That's not accurate. I know we're going to be doing an episode on terms later, but this kind of like relates. The term bull is a single male that plays with the female half of a couple. The term dragon means that the male will play with both the female and the male in the other couple. So there is a significant difference between bull and dragon. But for whatever reason, some people, I think it caught on somewhere and someone wasn't educated enough and it kind of spread, and people somewhere else now associate the word dragon with bull, but that's not what that means.
Stay tuned. In a couple months, we're going to be releasing an episode about terminology. A final example of having a swinging relationship is BDSM non-monogamy. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, so there's going to be other versions of having a swinging open relationship, but let's talk about BDSM non-monogamy. Say you have a couple and the guy is totally into BDSM. He loves going into his dom space and it just lights him up and he just finds enjoyment there. But he is in love with a soulmate, and she's just not into that. That's not her cup of tea. They are soulmates. They love each other dearly, but she's not into that. So a great example for them to have an open relationship would be the BDSM non-monogamy, which is where he would be allowed to have a BDSM girlfriend or playmate that he could only experience the BDSM kink with. So on paper, the definition is some non-monogamy relationships allow for an extra BDSM relationship, either with or without a sexual component. It's usually, but not always, because the other partner just doesn't share the same kinks.
Yeah, and then so for those of you who don't know what BDSM is, it's essentially a wide spectrum of kinks. So it could be you have a sensory kink, which means that...
That's what I like.
That's what you like, yes. So you get your eyes blindfolded, your ears with earmuffs. Sensory deprivation. And then maybe your partner or multiple people then begin to touch you with different things, objects, and hands that gives you a sensory experience. And you don't know what the objects are. It could be feathers. It could be...
vibrator ones.
Yeah, it could be, I remember that. It could be a vibrator. It could be odd objects like Lego pieces.
A friend of mine has these BDSM gloves. They're leather gloves with spikes on them. And so she just kind of scratches the back ever so gently, and it just brings me the tingles. I love it.
Yeah, so that's some sensory play. There could be flogging involved, and there's an unlimited number of types of floggings. So it could be long straps, thick straps, heavy straps, straps with metal pieces on the end of them, thin straps. It could be like something as thin as hair. And then all of those different floggers will give you a different sensory experience as they're hitting or as someone is hitting you with it. And it could be that you only like it on the butt, or it could be that you like it in the thigh, or it could be that you like it across the back.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be diving into a BDSM episode probably around Halloween or something. Yeah, guys, I have a whole schedule planned out for the year.
And so we'll definitely probably have a guest speaker that is fluent in that kind of activity.
I would love to get a guest speaker for that episode.
Yep.
That can tell us about subspace, and that can tell us about dom space and everything that we don't even know yet.
Power play and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Our BDSM experience is limited, but it's there.
So I do like to be aggressive in the bedroom. It's sometimes called a pleasure dom. I like to force pleasure on another person to the point where they have to tell me that they can't take it anymore. I like doing that. And so I'll pin your body in different positions. I'll squish your face into the bed and make you take it. I will manipulate your body kind of like a theme park and just kind of use it the way I want to give you the maximum amount of pleasure I can give you at that time.
It's so fun.
If that's part of the BDSM world, well, that's where my happy place is. Now, I've been with partners who said, spit on me, or like they said, they have a life motto, which I happen to agree with. The wetter is better. And so if they squirt all over my cock or whatever, I'm going to grab that juice and then be like, oh, you like that? And then I'll just smear it across their face and grab their jaw and then throw them down on the other side of the bed and then just kind of like
go to town,
penetrate them that way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love seeing your fireworks like that. That's so freaking fun.
Finding those people that are that aggressive or like that is kind of a rare thing.
Okay, let's talk about a couple ways that you could have an open relationship with a little bit more romantic flair added to it, romantic taste. Now, there's a ton of different types of polyamory. Polyfidelity is the first term I'm going to touch base with. Polyfidelity, sometimes abbreviated to just polyfi. The members of the group function like a closed monogamous couple, just with a different number. So maybe it's 3 people or 4 people or 5 people. They're not going outside of their relationship for romance or sex. They're staying within their closed group. Polyfidelity groups may live together, they may raise kids together, adjust their safer sex practices to reflect this closed agreement. This is often also called a polycule, although that term isn't exclusive, no pun intended, to polyfidelity arrangements.
Sometimes swingers find another couple, like one couple will find another couple that they they're so into them and there's such a great 4-way connection that they find that through them and through them exclusively, they're completely satisfied with the lifestyle experience. And so they'll enter into an exclusive, like, listen, we would love to be exclusive with you and we would love to play with you without condoms and that kind of thing. So we can only do that if we trust that you're not going to play with other people. So if we all agree that we're only going to play with each other, we will all agree that we'll go ahead and play without condoms.
So they're exclusive.
So
with
they're
just
an
another
exclusive
couple.
relationship just with the four of them.
But that one's not romantic. That's just exclusivity with swinging.
So the next one is kitchen table poly. And I hear this one a lot. It gets its name from the idea that it's the kind of polyamory where everyone involved could sit around the kitchen table and there's not going to be any drama at all. This is the opposite of a don't ask, don't tell type of relationship. This is one where there's open, honest communication to all people involved. Not all people necessarily are going to be involved sexually with each other, but they're all sitting at a table and everyone understands what's going on.
Let me give you another example of this kitchen table poly. Say Steve and Tori and Adam, for example, were in a kitchen table poly relationship.
I hope Adam has big breasts.
Adam's the first name. Adam and Eve, okay? Adam is the first name that came into my mind. So Tori and Steve and Adam are in a poly relationship, okay? So Tori and Adam have sex. Tori and Steve have sex. Steve and Adam do not have sex. So in that type of relationship, Adam would be the metamor to Steve. So metamor is the partner's partner that you're not sexually involved with. On the flip side, if Tori and Steve and Eve were in a relationship, Steve played with Tori, Steve played with Eve, Tori did not play with Eve, then Eve would be the metamor of Tori. So metamor is the partner that you're not sexually involved with. All right, so there's quad, which is, very self-explanatory. A quad is the exclusive four-person connection, some kind of romantic and sexual connection there, but it's not necessarily in every configuration. So it's generally a free-for-all.
A quad is basically the type of polyamory swinging relationship we just kind of discussed a little bit. Maybe there's romantic feelings involved, maybe there's not, but all four are kind of exclusive with each other, and there's a free-for-all between the four. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean that all four are sexual with all people in the quad. It's just that everyone's aware and there's four people involved. What is more common is the term throuple or triad. Throuple has become such a more common term lately. You see more throuples out in the community, out in the environment, and it's where all partners are in a romantic and sexual relationship with each other. A triad actually has four relationships playing out. The one-on-one relationship between each person in the triad to each other, and then the relationship between all three partners. And so there is a different aspect to that. So let's say, for example, we have a throuple relationship with Eve, and my wife is sick, but we had plans for all three of us to go out to dinner. Perhaps me and Eve go out to dinner alone, or perhaps me and Eve stay at home and then spend the day taking care of our sick partner with chicken soup and massages or whatever else. So it could be that in the throuple, there's always a date night between all three partners, or it could be that there's a special date night with one person on Wednesday and then the other person on Friday, for example. And then maybe between the other two, leaving the third person out on the next date night. So it's all what you're comfortable with in that type of relationship. I would always imagine it being a very natural, something that isn't forced. If you feel like you're forcing something, like one person wants a triad, but the other person really isn't feeling it, then you should maybe discuss not necessarily being a throuple, but maybe a type of poly relationship, like a chain.
That's called a closed V, love.
A closed V.
A closed V is a handy way of describing the dynamics between a polyamorous relationship with three people. However, two of them are not having a relationship with each other. So it's like a V, like each dot of the letter V would be connected, but the very top two are not connected.
Perfect. I love the segue there. Great job, babe.
Absolutely. There's the solo polyamory, which is basically a polyamorous person that does not need to have a partner, but they're open to dating around and sleeping around, and they're just open. Many describe themselves as their primary relationship is with themselves. And I was kind of like that when I was single. I went on a couple dates. I didn't really sleep around much. But my relationship was with myself until I met my soulmate. I totally understand this. I didn't even realize it was considered a type of poly, but it is solo polyamory.
Okay.
And the final type that we're going to talk about on today's episode.
But it's not the exhaustive list of polyamory. It could go on and on and on. In fact, if this were going to be a class on types of polyamory, this would be like the kindergarten or beginner class, because when I say this stuff gets really technical and really deep involved, it like off the chain, like complicated.
Yeah, I mentioned the closed V. Like there's letters of the different dots. Like if you go to Google Images and you type in types of polyamory, and images pop up giving you like all these different, like there's W, there's the D, like all these different ways you can have a relationship polyamorous. Like anyway, let me go back to, okay, here's the final way that we're going to talk about in today's episode. And it's kind of almost like a taboo term in the polyamory world. It's hierarchy polyamory. Either they're married or they're in a long-term relationship, they're established, they're solid, and they decide to embark on the journey of polyamory together, and they find another person, and they call their person the third, which isn't exactly a good word to use.
Yeah, a third, using the word third to people in the polyamory community, we have already learned, is kind of like it's like a little diss.
It's like a sting.
It's like a little sting, like, oh, I'm just your third wheel. I'm just there as a side piece. I'm just there. Like, no, they want an equal partnership. And if you're an equal partnership with somebody, you're not a third. You are equal.
So the third would be the addition to the primary, which again is not a great word to use in the lifestyle. The primary would be the two people that were established before the third came along. Generally, many people won't really identify as a hierarchical poly. It's usually a term that enters the conversation when something has gone wrong. Maybe you have a polyamory relationship and it's a throuple and the three of you are in love, you're getting along great and life is peachy, and then something happens where you start to feel distant and then arguments happen and you're trying to talk things through but nothing actually clears up, and then someone uses the term primary. Well, that's a major diss, because I thought we were all on equal playing fields, right?
Right. And so saying the word primary after you've entered into a throuple relationship is basically like throwing a bomb onto the situation.
So we have met a couple couples that have claimed they had a unicorn, but they had to let her go because she was getting too attached. That's a hard situation as well. So maybe you have your swingers and you found a single woman and she plays with you a lot and then she starts to get attached. She's looking for more of like a throuple situation. And so it's just important to have those conversations up front. Let her know, establish those boundaries up front. Listen, we're here to hang out with you. We can play together. We can even maybe go on trips together, but we're not going to be romantic. Romantic is opening those emotional doors, and we're not going to do that. So make sure you establish that boundary in the beginning so you're not having to, have heartbreaks later on.
And so some people out there are trying to imagine, well, I don't even know how I would have sex with a couple or intimate experiences with a couple more than once and not have some kind of feelings get involved at some point. And for swinger couples that are looking for unicorns, again, not necessarily the best term to be utilizing, but
single
females that are interested in playing with couples, they generally don't play together all that often. Let's be honest. And when I say all that often, I'm referring to like once a month or maybe once every other month. And if you're only seeing someone once every other month, the chances of you developing romantic feelings for them are pretty slim. So if you're seeing them every weekend, however, or twice a week, and you're having intimate experiences, I mean, you guys should have a conversation very upfront and open about boundaries and
probably often too.
And be like, hey, how are you feeling? We've been together for 6 months and we've, it's gotten to the point now where if I see you with my partner alone at the house unexpectedly, I don't think nothing of it. How are you feeling? Are you feeling that you're still romantically, are you still detached romantically? Are you feeling like there's feelings getting involved? We just kind of want to have a conversation with you about that, and then all have that conversation together. Don't try to hide things from someone, I
just thought of an idea for people in that situation. Maybe it might be a good idea to have almost like a safe word. Safe word is something that you'd use in the BDSM world, but maybe you could have a particular word that you would use when you're starting to get those feelings, but it's not quite there yet. It's almost like a warning word, like a yellow. Like, I really like hanging out with you guys. We get along great. We're best friends. I know we love each other on that friendship level, but I feel like things are getting closer. And just like, I don't know. It's just an idea to throw out there.
Also, if you're starting to come across that border, and like, let's say that couple's inviting you, the unicorn, for a dinner on Friday night, and you say the word, well, I'm feeling a little bit rainbow right now.
Rainbow might be your word.
Rainbow might be your word. I'm feeling a little rainbow right now. I might need to spend a couple weeks hanging out with some other people or some other couples for a little while because I don't want to encroach on our boundary that we've already established.
That's fantastic. And then if that couple is feeling rainbow with you too, then you can have that conversation. Hey, I'm glad you said that because I'm feeling the same way. Maybe it's time to take things a little deeper.
Right. And there's a lot of couples that like the idea of including a third, but they don't know how it would happen. And so they start out like, if it's going to happen, it'll happen organically. Right. And I think maybe we even fall into this category, but they say, all right, we're going to start this out and we're going to have this boundary in place. But if it all goes well, maybe we'll remove the boundary later if we all feel like we want to. Right.
We gave you guys some great examples of how to have an open relationship. We taught you some new terms, I hope. And if I didn't teach you a new term, maybe you can teach Steve and I a new term. Let us know under the comments over on our Instagram page or on our Facebook page. We want to build a community where we can support each other and learn from each other.
Absolutely. We're not perfect. If we've gotten any part of our educational foundation wrong or incorrect, feel free to reach out and talk to us about it. Maybe our understanding is a little off. Maybe we can show you the resources that we utilize to get our understanding, and maybe you're off a little bit.
And remember, terms have different definitions depending on where you live. Remember, potato is the same thing, but it's said different ways.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much to our listeners out there. We're getting great feedback from the community already.
Thank you so much for your support.
Absolutely. If you want to keep hearing us, there is a donation button. We would love to receive some love that way. We're not opposed.
That's on the show notes.
And then just thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listening. I hope that we are educating you and you're feeling fulfilled.
Thank you for tuning in and stimulating your mind.
Stimulate your mind.
Thank you so much for listening to Swingology. I'm truly honored to have you as a listener. If you liked what you've heard, consider subscribing to our podcast or connecting with us on social media. The links can be found with the episode show notes. This is Tori Kist, reminding you to stimulate your mind.